I'm going to invite you to enter the conversation in just a minute, but there's a question I want to ask each of them for myself, and that is, how do you fill your cup when it is empty? And I realize I've got verbs in there in a certain order. How do you fill versus how are you filled? But I'll let you deal with that as you go. But how do you fill your cup when it is empty?
What a great question, Barbara. I was talking to my husband, Gangadas, aka Jeff, about this morning about how all three of us in some ways have dragged our asses to this symposium, and how such wisdom and love is present in both of you and in the work you do in this world. I have deep regard for both of you, and I don't say that lightly because I often don't feel it for people so much. I mean, a human respect, but I mean like a deep regard for who you are and the work you do. And I'm sad for you, but I'm also happy to see that you are both struggling with the human condition, as am I, right now, this very weekend. You're coming with broken hearts and tired bodies and full willingness to be present, not anyway, but as actually a fruit of that deep humanity that you carry with you. And it just gives me hope and courage to keep showing up too. And so one of the ways that my cup is refilled is by being in the presence of Sangha and knowing that we're all grappling with the human condition and that it's holy ground, and that I don't have to try to be some, dare I say yet again, patriarchal version of a perfected, purified being in order to be true to this love that, as you say, Rami, is, who knows what's going to happen in these times of great collapse and chaos. But what we do know is that keeping our hearts open in hell, as my beloved Ram Dass used to say, is the task at hand, and you both model that for me. So having fun, laughing, eating good food, being intimate with the ones we love, all of that. Netflix and chocolate doesn't hurt.
A good mini-series or an SSRI, whatever works, it's just, yeah. Thank you for that. And we are. I think, we'll go this way. I wrote Mirabai earlier and said we're all going to have vulnerability hangovers tomorrow. All of us. I think all of us who have, gotten here the ways that we've gotten here. But you touched it for me a moment ago. There's nothing like writing a book called Learning to Walk in the Dark to have the universe say, really? Let's see how well that's going for you. Not out of meanness, it's out of love, but all cliches fall away, but what helped at the bottom was a call to look around at all the company I had, to look around at the Sangha, in other language at the communion of saints, to look around at the body, to look around at the congregation, to look around at all the company I had in the human condition. And all of a sudden it wasn't my sorrow, it was our sorrow. And that broke me into a place of willingness. I'm not even going to say healing. Both of you shocked me, does the dark night ever end? I don't think so. Or at least comes around again and again, and your willingness to talk not only about the crucifixion of the self, but of the entire, globe. But there's a way in which I think Christians especially run towards hope and healing very quickly. I read a great book called, something like Repair. And it was written by a Jew who said, there's some things that aren't repairable. And that to come to life, to the fullness of the life we share, is to make peace with the broken places instead of rushing to repair. And that's hard. The Christian narrative's got a whole lot of the squirrels in heaven now. I had a chicken die. Someone brought her children to my house, and I said, let me show you the chickens. And we walked down, and a chicken just laid down and died in front of this child. And I was appalled. And she said, oh, honey, don't cry. The chicken's in heaven now. That was, repair. No, we're going to eat it, actually, for supper. No. Oh, you can tell my question touches me deeply enough. I have to try to be funny. So, cup.
So I'm not sure I really get the question, but
Answer another one, Rami.
well, no, I'm just trying to get. So I don't want to make this sound too simplistic, but I like being broken. I have no problem with what the Taoists call the 10,000 joys and the 10,000 sorrows. That's what it is. That's what it is. A couple of weeks ago, my dog died. And it was a Winter Park dog. It was a golden doodle. And she was the love of my life in the canine world. But I work at home. She was my constant companion for 12 years. And she started having seizures. It just lasted a week, and then she passed away. So we had to euthanize her. So we called my son and my daughter-in-law and my grandson, who's 4, I told you that. And we said, we're putting her down, and do you want to be there? So they all met us at the vet, and we're all sitting together with Murphy, and the vet comes in and begins to explain the process, what she's going to do. And my 4-year-old grandson, Jack, says, I have to leave, this is very scary. So his parents take him into the waiting room. And then she finishes explaining, and then there's a knock on the door, and it's Jack. And he says, no, I have to come back. So he comes in. I have photos of the last moments of Murphy's life where she's sitting, and he's holding her, and then they euthanize her, and he's just holding her as she dies. And then when she's dead, and we've sat in silence for a bit, my son says to his son, Murphy's gone. And Jack says, no, she's not. She's right here. So, but how do I come to these places when things when my life is broken? Well, first of all, again, my life is always broken, number one. But number two, I don't do this. I just, as soon as, in this case, Randy winds me up and says, go, somebody walks out, somebody does an hour and a half. I'm watching the whole thing, just telling jokes to myself, most of which someone's articulating to you. And it's an effortless 90 minutes or whatever it is. I mean, it's only 90 minutes because he makes me stop. But it's not me, It's just something I'm just channeling. I don't know, Lenny Bruce or whoever it is. I'm just channeling, and it's effortless. And I never know what I said. And I don't remember, what happens when I always worry, if it says they've been here before and they're going to get the same material, I don't know what it is. And then I have to ask people, did I say anything bad? Did I hurt your feelings, Mirabai, right? So it's just this weird thing that happens. So I'm the vehicle for whatever comedy lord there is who does this thing through me. So it's not difficult for me to do that.
2 things. I told Rami today that his kippah was dark, and against this black background, it looked like the top of his head was gone. And it matches what he just said exactly. And the second thing is, when we were at January Adventure, we went out after one of your moments of flow, and you said, I talked a long time, didn't I? You said, I kept looking at my watch, but it didn't mean anything to me.
So can I add something before we open it up?
Mm-hmm.
I love Barbara.
I love Barbara too.
Oh.
I love Barbara more. Yes, and go ahead. No, when Randy said that Mirabai and Barbara were going to be here this weekend, I would have crawled over broken glass to be here. I love being with the two of you. It's magic for me. So I just want to thank you both.